Welcome to another special edition of the Fast Lane. Trey Lyle here with you. I am joined by the voice of the Liberty Flames, Alan York. Alan, before we jump into their matchup this weekend against the Minutemen, how are you doing, my friend?
Things are good as we tape this on a Thursday afternoon. The weather is phenomenal outside here in Lynchburg, mid 70s, but I understand it's going to be in the mid 50s up in Massachusetts on Saturday. But hey, it's close to mid October, so that's typical football weather this time of year.
Absolutely. And, overlooking this season for the Flames, it's a theme that has been the rotation at quarterback. Four quarterbacks have played for this team. And you think about it, if any team has played four quarterbacks, it's probably not a successful season, but Liberty's sitting at 4-1, easily could sit at 5-0, depending on a 2-point conversion against a very good Wake Forest team. How has this team been able to adapt so much with the constant changes at the quarterback position? Obviously, Charlie Brewer gets out a series into the season, and then it's been Jonathan Bennett, Nate Hampton, and Keaton Salter rotating in and out. It's been kind of crazy for Coach Hugh Freeze and the Flames.
Yeah, the irony of all that, Trey, is back in the summer, Hugh Freeze told all the media, I've got four quarterbacks that I have immense confidence in to come in and run our offense. Now, if that's not foreshadowing, I'm not sure what is. But to answer your question, what has kept this team together? I think it starts at the top with Hugh Freeze, the head coach. His leadership and his confidence in his players, it permeates throughout his team. And they're built on competition every day in practice. And I think that elevates the play of everybody, regardless of who you put in there. But they've got a mix of veteran and young kids in that quarterback room. You mentioned Charlie Brewer, who this is his third stop after Baylor and Utah. So he's got experience. Jonathan Bennett's been part of the program for 4 years. Caden Salter, while young, he was a 5-star going into the University of Tennessee before he left there to come here last year. And then Nate Hampton, who had 20-plus Division I offers, who, like Salter, is a redshirt freshman. So from top to bottom, a lot of experience, a lot of maturity in that quarterback room that helps the offense move down the field. So to answer your question, it starts up top with Hugh Freeze, but he's got some talented players in that quarterback room that help the offense go.
It also helps to have a running back that can get you 100 yards a game in Day Hunter. His last three games, 89 yards against Wake, 118 against Akron, and then obviously the 121 against ODU. This is, again, a theme of this team, a transfer from Hawaii. He's really emerged as the bell cow back for this team.
Yeah, he certainly has. And did we know that going into this season? No, because you have returning TJ Green, who played for Liberty last year, who also is a transfer from Utah. But TJ's been hurt with a knee injury. Hopefully he's, if not back this week, hopefully next week for Gardner Webb. So with one less back to use, Day Hunter was counted on early on to help solidify the running game, along with Shedro Lewis, who's been part of the program the last couple of years. And you have Day Hunter, who against transfer, running behind basically a brand new offensive line, minus a couple of returners from a year ago. So that just takes time. And so it's now going on game 6, and he's really starting to really get himself into shape. And he from Southern Miss all the way through the last game against Old Dominion, Trey, Day Hunter has increased his yards in every game up until Saturday at UMass. And so you'd like to see that trend continue against the Minutemen.
Alan York calling for 150 for Day Hunter. You heard it here first. Speaking of UMass, head coach Don Brown, former defensive coordinator at Michigan, Arizona. This guy is a really good defensive coach, and he likes to play a very aggressive style. What is the coaching staff, the offensive coaching staff, talked about? Still not sure he's going to play quarterback for Liberty. The receivers have played well this year, but that it's still going to be a very aggressive defense they're going to face come Saturday.
Yeah, Trey, one thing that Coach Freeze talked to the media on Monday about was he was hoping to pop the tape in after Old Dominion when he started looking at UMass and hopefully see some things he can exploit, but he really didn't. And that goes a long way to what Don Brown's done at his previous stops. He's already got this UMass defense playing at a fairly high level. 49th, I think, is their total defense with yards given up per game. So not too shabby, considering a team that won one game last year, and their record since moving FBS in 2012 has not been great. But the defense does show you multiple looks, and so they keep it. They keep you guessing as a play caller, and that's what Hugh Freeze obviously is for Liberty.
UMass, to be frank, is one of the worst teams in all of Division 1A football, FBS football. But they do have an experienced head coach. It's very similar to the matchup they had with Akron. Liberty did, and that game was only 21-12, and Liberty were big favorites. I know this game's at home compared to on the road, but how important is it just, coming off of that kind of, I want to say, sort of emotional win against ODU, that you kind of handle the opponent appropriately?
I think every play is important. I mean, it's cliche. Is this game any more important than Gardner-Webb? No, they're all, in my opinion, they all have importance. And for Liberty not going for a conference championship, their goal is bowl eligibility. They're 2 wins away from that. And they're playing UMass. They're playing FCS Gardner-Webb next week at home. And so on paper, Liberty's going to be the favorite. They have to protect away from that, because you can look all the press clippings and all the ticker that ESPN will put, oh, Liberty's this much point favorite. Coach Freeze would call that rat poison. So that's something that Liberty will have to protect against on Saturday, knowing that they're going to be a favorite going up there to UMass.
If you want the rat poison, it's a 24.5-point favorite,
There it is.
just to let you know. But these next 2 games, you kind of touched on it. It really is a really good chance for Liberty to kind of, even though it's the middle of the season, to get set up for their 2 biggest games of the season in terms of their 2 hardest opponents. Maybe their 2 hardest opponents. I'd say Wake Forest is better than BYU, maybe even better than Arkansas. But BYU and Arkansas are 2 big opponents for this Liberty Flames team. Obviously, their biggest game at home is BYU. Well, actually, it's Virginia Tech, even though BYU is better than Virginia Tech because it's Virginia Tech. But these next 2 games to set up the end of their season, how important is it just to execute, find a rhythm, and keep building on what has been a really good start for this team?
I think so. That, again, not to be cliche, Kyle, I think that's the goal for every team each week is to find consistency. And you talk to any coach in America, even the best coaches out there, they're always striving for a better game than they had the game before. And because of the revolving door at quarterback, Liberty's not had that game where you're like, that's the game. That's the blueprint of what Flames football is all about. Will it be against UMass? I don't know. You fight against opponent that on paper Liberty should beat. But how do you come out 3:30 kickoff? It's a different game time than we've had the previous 5 games. How do you come out from an intensity standpoint against a team that physically may not be as up to par with maybe what you are? And you get a team that maybe has some confidence early on in the game, and that could snowball. And so that's one thing I think you protect against as a team going up there, playing our game. And it would be great to go up there on Saturday, get a big lead, and get your starters some rest and get some of those other guys you're trying to develop some actual game reps outside of practice. So that's kind of what I look at, why that game's important against UMass. And then homecoming the next week against Gardner-Webb, a former Big South rival of Liberty. So there's kind of good storylines there before October 22nd and the game against BYU, which they're playing good football with only 1 loss as well.
One thing Liberty's done well defensively this year is turn the ball over. They've forced a lot of turnovers this year. Top half in the NCAA in turnovers. How opportunistic has this defense been, and how aggressive have they been?
They've been very aggressive. One of the mantras, leading through spring ball for the secondary was tips and throws, or tips and overthrows. Got to get those. And that's something Liberty has had a conscious effort of doing. And you can tell the training they've gone through to be more aggressive defensively has helped them with 14 takeaways leading into this game against Saturday. UMass right behind them at 10. So they're, again, a defense that's very aggressive also. But when you have depth, Trey, like Liberty has this year, you can be more aggressive. You don't have to reserve some energy for the fourth quarter. You can go all out because you know a guy coming behind you, the talent level is not going to fall off. And so I think that's one of the reasons that really nobody's talking about it. But depth is, I think, a key point for Liberty being so aggressive defensively.
As I mentioned, the spread 24.5, over under 47. Well, sometimes we give picks here, but obviously I won't make you. But what are a couple keys as you're leaving the game? About 7 o'clock on Saturday, heading home back here to Lynchburg. That you're like, all right, I wanted to see Liberty do X, Y, and Z, and they did it.
Continue the running game. The offensive line is much improved since last year. Again, Liberty did lose a couple of key pieces, including center Tom Sargent and one of their tackles, Tristan Schultz, who were 4-year starters for Liberty. So you're working in that new offensive line. They're starting to gel. So you obviously want to see that game. And I think just consistency from whoever the quarterback is. And obviously Charlie Brewer is out still. If my memory serves me correct, he was going to get his right hand checked on this week to see where he is. And again, when he went out in week 1, September 3rd, they were saying 6 to 8 weeks, which could be that BYU game. Again, I'm no doctor. I'm not speculating that, but at least that's what they were pinpointing for. So consistency from whoever, what quarterback it is. I mean, Caden Salter's got tremendous talent. But he's kind of the wild card with the least experience of the main quarterbacks that do play. In his health, is he healthy or not? He wasn't healthy in that Old Dominion game. That's why he got taken out in the third quarter. And then Jonathan Bennett, while he is a veteran of this team, Malik Willis got the lion's share of the snaps the last 2 years. So Jonathan really, I think, took a step forward in that second half last week. Again, numbers not off the charts from a passing yardage standpoint, but he managed the game like you would think a veteran would. And that's something he has struggled to do in the playing time that he's gotten. His completion percentage, not where it should be, despite having open receivers. So he just needs to kind of calm down and let the game kind of come to him, which I think he did last week. So offensively, those are some keys for me that if I look on the way back on Saturday, hey, Liberty did this. And special teams wise, I mean, that's the elephant in the room. Liberty struggled with kicks with Nick Brown, although he did hit a season high 49-yarder last week. He also missed one from 19 yards. So find consistency in that kicking game, which is very important. And defensively, just continue to be aggressive.
Well, Alan, I want to appreciate you for joining me this week. And how can some Flames fans who are listening to this connect with you, and maybe they want to tune in the broadcast if they're traveling up to the game in Massachusetts?
Sure. We're always inviting fans, Trey, to come on our Twitter feed with us at LFSN Radio. That's our Liberty Radio account. I'm also on Twitter at LU Flames Voice. You can email the booth, lfsn@liberty.edu. And the easiest way to get us is our digital platforms at libertyflames.com. You can download the Liberty Flames app and hear our broadcast there.
Alan, thanks so much. And thanks everyone for listening to this special edition of the Fastlane. You connect with us at Trey Lyle VT on Twitter, at Fastlane, Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Thank you so much for listening to this special edition of the Fastlane.